According to both Google and ChatGPT, talking to yourself is not just normal, it's actually healthy. It can improve memory and motivation and help regulate your emotions. All very different when I was a kid. Back in the day, we used to say that talking to yourself was the first sign of madness. The second sign of madness was listening. To this day, if I'm walking down the street and I see someone coming towards me talking to themselves loudly, excitedly, or angrily, I'm giving them a wide berth, which is kind of ironic, given that the various elements of the demolition and construction industry are forever talking to themselves loudly, excitedly, or angrily. I've attended conferences in which architects have spoken excitedly about sustainability, but those that will ultimately be required to make good on that sustainability promise, the demolition contractors, are not just absent from the audience, they were never consulted on the architect's ambitious aims in the first place. I've heard government ministers speaking about the abolition of diesel fuel to meet admittedly admirable net zero targets. But the people currently using diesel fueled machines are nowhere to be seen, and their opinion has never been sought. I've seen equipment manufacturers add countless gadgets and gizmos to their machines without once asking operators whether they're happy with a few buttons and dials or if they really would prefer to spend their days on the flight deck of the Starship Enterprise. Most recently, I've heard environmentalists and government ministers calling for an end to any and all demolition, lest it destroy their precious embodied carbon. Oddly enough, they never do that in front of an audience of demolition contractors that might burst their big green bubble with a few facts. I was reminded of the industry's willingness to talk to itself on Friday last week when I attended the autumn seminar of the Institute of Demolition Engineers. Presentation after presentation, speech after speech, the guest speakers demonstrated that they were solving problems that clients and main contractors hadn't even created yet. A reusable modular facade retention system made entirely from reclaimed steel. Methods for reclaiming entire structural elements during demolition so they could be used in other buildings. And artificial intelligence to fulfill tiresome, tedious, and labour intensive tender applications. And yet, for all the innovation on display, the speakers were in many ways preaching to the choir. Yes, I'm sure that many of the 100 plus demolition engineers gathered at the Institute of Civil Engineers left feeling inspired. I'm sure that many of them will now be leafing through brochures and figuring out how they might deploy some of what they learned during the day. And yet, as is so often the case, those that really needed to hear all this were notable by their absence. The architects weren't there to hear how they are designing buildings today that will be problematic to demolish in 30 or 40 years' time. The specifiers weren't there to learn how their choice of materials today will have a negative impact upon sustainability of that building when it reaches the end of its natural life. The clients and contractors weren't there either. And so they will continue to make ridiculous demands, ill informed decisions, and costly mistakes that could have been avoided by closer consultation with the demolition experts. And most frustratingly of all, those missing architects, specifiers, clients, and main contractors didn't get to see what the modern demolition contractor really looks like. They're not sitting on their hands waiting to be told what to do next. They're not waiting for problems to arrive before hastily devising a solution. They're looking ahead. They're scanning the industry horizon. They're preempting future challenges before they arise. And they're devising solutions to problems that haven't even been invented yet. Unfortunately, the gap between those speaking and those listening is the space where problems breed and proliferate. Until we can bridge that gap, those problems will continue to emerge, even if the solution already exists. It's crazy, right? When I was a child, we used to say that talking to yourself is the first sign of madness. We now live in an age in which we're a bit more enlightened. We don't say that anymore. But maybe those people talking to themselves weren't ever actually mad in the first place. Maybe they just had some really amazing ideas and innovative solutions, and no one was listening.